Hypercoaster at the Land of Legends was on my radar ever since the project was announced a couple of years ago. This touring attraction built by Mack features the same layout as Flash at Lewa Adventure in China. Both rides feature a 50-meter vertical loop, and as such share the record for the tallest inverting loop in the world. The Land of Legends flagship attraction is also one of the biggest coasters built by Mack, and is truly an ambitious statement from the German manufacturer. So, is the ride as great as it looks? Here is my personal review of Hypercoaster. The coaster's scenery quite exceeded my expectations. It has a railway station theme featuring several gorgeous buildings in a rather sophisticated Arabic style. I found the entrance building especially striking. It has a lot of welcome details like an exquisite vintage sign with the name of the ride and refined patterns on the window panels. Like the other structures in the queue line, beige is the dominant facade color, but it comes in various shades, shapes and layers to give the architecture real depth. To my surprise, the line also includes animatronics and a full-size model of a steam train front. You also have ornate columns, and there is arguably a good effort to add variety in the wall textures. To be honest, the decoration looks unfinished in some other parts of the ride, for instance the station interiors. Currently there isn't much scenery during the actual ride, although I believe the park is working to add details in the future. Nevertheless, I think the theming is quite a convincing effort overall, and it truly helps improving even further my enjoyment of the ride. Unlike many typical coasters of the same height that solely focus on airtime, Hypercoaster's layout has a characteristic mix of big hills and inversions. After a relatively steep and quick climb across the left hill, the ride begins with an exciting twisted first drop. The experience of this drop greatly depends on where you sit on the train. At the front you get an impressive view, but I prefer the back seats, which provide a nice pop of airtime, followed by an incredible snappy rotation to the left. To be straight honest, I think this is one of my favorite backseat drops, even better than La Coaster in my opinion. Going through the entrance of the vertical loop, the positive G-forces get remarkably strong and sustained to the point I sometimes grayed out a little. The train next reaches the top of the giant inversion and delivers a short but sweet moment of hang time. Then comes the first gamma back. This airtime moment isn't extreme from my experience, but is quite sustained and you definitely get lifted out of the seat every time. It is followed by a tall stangle dive, which is more drawn out compared to Maverick for example. It is more of a graceful moment with some subtle lateral Gs that gently push you to the side. The second airtime hill is for me the most powerful. The train traverses it at a great pace and the element delivers solid ejector. Then we turn around through a non-inverting Ilmenman. Although this is a relatively less forceful part of the ride, by my standards anyway, it is enjoyable and lets me catch my breath a little bit. It leads to the second and final inversion of the layout, a smooth 0G roll spiced up with some good slight laterals. The experience concludes with two good airtime hills and a series of twists and turns. There is a trim break in this section that is fairly noticeable, and I feel the last bunny hop is less intense than it could have been as a result. I would also say the S-turns are less weepy than some transitions on Taron or Schwurdeskanen. Nonetheless, it is another fun element sequence that adds further diversity to the layout, and remarkably the train keeps its great speed all the way to the end brakes. Unfortunately, I did experience some minor vibrations during my rides, specifically at the entrance of the vertical loop and, strangely, during the final turn. I felt this slight rattle was more noticeable towards the rear seats. However, the track banking is spot on, no jolt at all, and of course the ride features the familiar Mack lap bar restraints and open seating, which are, in my opinion, very well designed. Compared to other attractions of similar height, Hypercoaster isn't the most intense or wicked ride, but it has a very solid layout with varied elements and sensations to keep passengers entertained. In particular, I found the first drop brilliant, and the pacing is excellent throughout the whole ride. Some of the scenery is gorgeous, especially considering this is a brand new park. Although from my experience, this coaster isn't perfectly smooth, it remains a comfortable ride and one that I would happily sit on and enjoy times and times again. With that being said, Hypercoaster gets my final score of 9 out of 10. This is an impressive coaster, it is fun, and Land of Legends as a whole is definitely a destination I recommend checking out.